everybody. Welcome to our November edition of the State of QuickBooks Desktop. This is one of my most favorite webinars to do. It gets a lot of attention. Everybody wants to know what's going on with QuickBooks Desktop. If you haven't seen some of our other sessions, my opinion is QuickBooks Desktop is doing just fine. Intuit is continuing to improve the product. They have over 1 million users in this product, right? I don't think that it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. They continue to do fixes and things, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And even there are still support fixes being pushed down to Pro and Premier, right? So they're still actively supporting the 2024 product. I always continuously see how people have the clickbait in their support. Oh, QuickBooks is discontinuing QuickBooks. 2024 is the last year. And just as a reminder, those were all things that we asked for here at Fourlane because we wanted y'all to not have to do install every year. We can get the updates and the feature updates and the new reports or whatever they're going to send out to us without having to do a fresh install every year. So retraining the customer base, which is happening all over the place right now, right, with technology changes. My opinion is that we are doing okay right now for QuickBooks Desktop. Okay, let's move forward, talk about our agenda today. We're going to be going through desktop or Intuit News, talking about the fall release, which there were a couple things that were changed. Fourlane CX updates, so the accessibility in the cloud to your QuickBooks information, your QuickBooks Desktop information, and then also because most of our QuickBooks Desktop users are in QuickBooks Enterprise, I just want you guys to see Intuit Enterprise Suite to feel comfortable and confident that it is not quite ready yet for all desktop users. I feel like they're going after a specific market. So I'm just going to demo a couple things, like the big things that are great for up when you're ready to move up there. Okay, Intuit News. So I was at QB Connect a couple weeks ago, or Intuit Connect, I'm not sure what they call it now. It's very confusing, right? We have to decide, are we going to be Intuit or are we going to be QuickBooks? But Intuit Accountant Suite was launched or started to be promoted. I'm not quite sure if we're allowed to sell it yet, but basically this is, for years we have said this, right? Back in the day in the QuickBooks Desktop space, QuickBooks was free. And then they started charging for it. Maybe Quicken was free, I'm not sure which one. But then they started charging for it, right? And that's just Intuit's way of slow rolling people in, getting them in their product, sales tactics. And Intuit has also had the ProAdvisor program, right? So you could become a certified ProAdvisor and help, be the army for Intuit out there promoting their product to all of their users. And that also had a very low cost, maybe free in the beginning, and then it started having costs, etc. Well, QuickBooks Online Accountant Edition has been free for several years also. And also the certification has been free for several years. And when you're sign up to be an accountant, there's no verification that you're actually an accountant, and you can get a free version of QuickBooks Online through that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are like flag. Eventually Intuit's going to start charging for this. And so Intuit Accountant Suite is going to be their answer to this. It is essentially what I see, QuickBooks Online Accountant with AI capabilities, which is going to be helpful for your firm. And then, of course, task management. They have a beta for month-end close, being able to switch between different companies. And so there's all these things. But it's essentially the base of it is, QuickBooks Online Accountant Edition. And now they're going to start charging for it. So keep an eye out for that. I don't have the details yet, but it's coming. The next thing is that we did hear, so I always follow, right, what our Intuit sales reps allowed to do. That also helps me to kind of know, what's going on out there in the world. Now, Intuit hired last year a couple hundred Intuit Enterprise Suite sales reps. From what I understood at the time, they all had to be in person in Plano or Atlanta, and they all were only allowed to sell Intuit Enterprise Suite, none of the other products. And they were also, I believe, now it might not be 100% of them, but they could not hire internally. They had to hire all of these people fresh, brand new, externally. I thought that was for a couple of reasons. Number one, they didn't want people to be jaded by other products. They wanted to say, this is the product, right? And if you've been with Intuit for 20 years, you're like, this is an awesome product in Intuit Enterprise Suite, but it's not the same as Enterprise Desktop. So I think they didn't want any of that. They just wanted to kind of start with a clean slate and not have people who had history. So that happened, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, those people started being brought on board for the launch of Intuit Enterprise Suite last fall, a year ago. But this is something that's changed as well. So I've seen this before where QuickBooks sales reps, they can only sell one product. And then they go, okay, no, you can sell more products. And then they go, oh, nope, you can only sell one product. Oh, you can sell more products. So the change that we've seen recently, the shift, is for those people who were selling QBO, they are still not allowed to sell Intuit Enterprise Suite. They have to refer that out to the Intuit Enterprise Suite team, but they can sell QuickBooks Enterprise now. And I actually think that's a good thing. That means that they are going to be incentivized both ways. Anytime that there is incentivization to sell QuickBooks Desktop internally, I always look at that as a good thing as well. The other thing that I just want to make sure you guys are aware of, this came from a client, so I'm sorry at how gross this screenshot really is. But in product in QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, they have now, not in all, but they have in some, because it's not in mine, otherwise I would have gotten a better screenshot. It says move to Intuit Enterprise Suite. And I have a feeling that they're going after certain industries. Obviously, this client wouldn't be the best one since they're manufacturing and wholesale, but in the client's name, the business name includes marketing, and marketing, service-based, professional services is who Intuit Enterprise Suite is going after. So I expect that's why they see it and I don't. However, I just want to make you guys aware, to see this, Intuit Enterprise Suite is not the same as QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop, whatever you want to call. I want to ship them like 1,000 thesauruses. We do not need to call it Enterprise. I'm actually surprised that they're going after Suite also because of NetSuite. I'm surprised that nobody's come after them for that word. I feel like that should be trademarked or competitioned up or something locked up somewhere. But for right now, it's still called Intuit Enterprise Suite. Not to be confused with QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise or QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop. They are not the same product, and I'm going to show you a demo in a little bit. But I wanted you to be aware, in case you see it in product, do not convert. Don't do it. Call us first. This is not QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise Online. Nope, that's the Fourlane CX product, so let's not get it all confused. In support news, also, I'm probably not going to be able to get to questions today. I'm just giving you that heads up. There's so much to cover. We will come back on questions after, but ask them away. I didn't even introduce myself today, did I? Because I dove right in. All right. So this is Marjorie. Hi. All right, QuickBooks support news. So again, this is for desktop. QuickBooks Desktop to QBO, they have improved the in-product conversion. They are starting to utilize some AI tools to learn, right, things that should be happening if you are going to convert from desktop to online. They want to make it easier. So one of the things is they have added a tool that allows, looks at your data and says, hey, here are some suggestions of customers, vendors, accounts that should be marked as inactive. So that is a suggestion that they make. And the one thing that we have noticed is since this rolled out, it is significantly slower to move from desktop to online. So technology does improve some things and maybe slows some things down. I'm expecting that that would be improved. So they did resolve an Outlook and QuickBooks issue where they weren't sending statements and some other things weren't being sent. So that has been resolved. And then there have been some payroll processing errors, so we're monitoring that. It hasn't been consistent, so we don't have feedback on this. And when we say we, right, of course, as you all know, we do have our QuickBooks support plans, similar to like you don't want to call your IT person necessarily about QuickBooks, because then they're just going to call QuickBooks support, and then they're going to be on the phone and want to throw their phone out the window because it can be quite frustrating. That's why people utilize our support plans, and that's what we're saying. Our support team is monitoring, hearing these payroll processing errors. So if you get one, reach out to us, because again, the more data we have, the better we can go to Intuit to get them to get it to fix, right? Because they have to hear it. We have to hear it maybe 4 or 5 times in order to kind of raise a stink. They have to hear it like 50 to 100 times before they'll start to actually take action, right? Otherwise, they just blame you guys for the problems. So anyway, monitoring some QuickBooks Desktop support around payroll processing. Let us know if you guys have anything that comes up. Okay, fall update. There wasn't a tremendous amount. I know they've been doing these email updates, and I keep on telling the dev people that I talk to, hey, I don't know how much people care about these email updates. It's not going to make people stay in product or make people like super excited. But a couple things, so before I touch on this one, so they did change it. So, you know, last time I showed you how they changed it when you send, I can't show you in the demo file, so I'm sorry. When you send a invoice or out to your customers, that, or you do a send later, right, you can now select multiple contacts, right? The thing that they changed in the fall is that it will remember the contacts you selected last time. So that's great. You don't have to continuously select multiple contacts. That's awesome. The other thing that they changed, this is something that we've been asking for a long time. I'm sorry. One thing I was just going to say before that is, of course, you know, there are a lot of products out there, like Salesforce as an example, right? And Salesforce doesn't allow us to send through product. So the fact that QuickBooks Desktop allows us to do some of these things, meaning from our own email addresses, right? The fact that QuickBooks Desktop allows us to do that is pretty cool. Because, you know, some of these products you pay so much money for, and they still don't allow us to do that. All right, I'm going to go into QuickBooks for this one and show you guys. So we go into reports, and then we go down to customers and receivables, and we have our invoice profitability by customer. This is one that people have been asking for a long time, so I'm super excited to show this. What a lot of people would do historically is they would go in and they would go create a job for every invoice whenever they wanted to get invoice for customer. That was really our only alternative, unless we use some custom fields for things, but they built this in product. So here, let's take a look at what this math is. So the first one is, if I open this up, right, it says quantity 25, rate 14.7, sales amount is $367.52. So the $14.50 cost here, what that is doing is it's taking the item card. If I go to the item card and I take the cost, 58 cents, right, times the quantity, 25, and that equals out to the $14.50. So this is the cost if we did the multiplier based off of the item setup, okay? Then the next thing we have is sales price. So again, if I go in and edit the item, I take $4.25, and you guys can see I did like a little math for you here. So 0.58 times 25, 14.50. 4.25, right, times 25 equals 106.25. So if we had followed what the sales price is on the item card, right, then we would have sold them for 106.25. Now we get this super cool, because this we can drop into Excel and see profit margins and do some reporting on it for commission markups by invoice. I'm super excited about it. So then this actual cost is, if I go into my invoice and I do, right, what we're used to doing in transaction history, transaction journal, I can see behind the scenes my actual cost is $15.26. That is what would be hitting cost of goods sold for this transaction. My actual sales price, right, what's hitting sales, $367.52, and so that's what I see here. The difference column is the difference between these actuals. The markup and the margin is that same thing. So what's great, again, about this to me is I can go in and I can drop this into Excel and say flag for me anything where the cost is higher than my expected cost, my average cost is higher than my expected cost, and where my actual revenue is lower than my expected sales price, right? Super cool data. I love, originally when they showed it to me and when they were doing the like chicken scratch dev stuff, they showed it to me on multiple lines. They figured out how to throw this all on one line for us, and it's just super powerful. So very excited about that with the dev team. Oh my gosh, I'm just not great on time, so let me keep pushing forward here. Okay, so we're going to talk about our Fourlane CX. This is, of course, the product that we've been mentioning for a long time. So many of our QuickBooks Desktop users are frustrated with the speed of desktop, right? The accountants are good. We're good. We understand. We're used to it, although it could be faster, right, when all those salespeople are in there mucking up our system. It could be faster. That can be annoying. But accounting people are good. It's the people who are doing the operational based functions, right? Entering sales orders, creating estimates, looking things up. They're like, I have to go log into QuickBooks just to see if this invoice was paid, and it takes me 20 minutes to get it to load. Not really. They're going to not take that long. But it takes a long time, and they get annoyed, right? So we have this cloud-based interface for those people who are non-accounting based. They can go log in through a web browser. And of course, you guys have seen this quite a bit in the past. So just a reminder, it is true web-based, right? It is a seamless sync into QuickBooks. If I go in and create a customer, a vendor, a estimate, whatever it is, it's going to throw it right in there. But you can see those on previous updates. The things that I wanted to show today that have been added since the last time we talked is we do have the ability to add assembly items into this product. And so when I go in and add a new assembly item, you can come in and see here, it picks the item type. I can put in the name, the cost, right, the description, and then I can start to add my bill of materials information down below here, just like we can inside of QuickBooks Desktop. So once you add those and save them, and I'm sorry I'm going so fast, it's just running up against time, then we also have the ability to build assemblies inside of CX now. So if I wanted to make a pack of 10, oh, I'm sorry, I did a candy dish is the one I did. So if I wanted to make a candy dish, I can choose which site it's coming from, you know, my Austin site. I want everything to come out of Austin, and then, you know, go forward quantity to build. I can put in, you know, 45 and hit save. There are a couple things with this that we want to make clear, and there is definitely some reason around this. Build assemblies is one of the transaction types that cause the most problems in QuickBooks Desktop files. It's where we see a lot of corruption. Number one, of course, is payroll. Number two, merchant services. And number three is build assemblies. So what we do is when they're marked as pending, we actually don't send them to QuickBooks at all. They just reside in CX, and we function here until we're ready to finalize it. And then when we save and build it, it actually sends it into QuickBooks as a bill, right? Not as a build assembly. And again, there's a very specific reason for that we want it to protect the database. And so when it comes in, it goes in as a $0 bill, and we can take a look at that. Okay, so popping into QuickBooks as a result from this is you can see, oops, let me go into my vendor center. You can see right there. So what happens is all of those flow through a vendor called work orders. So you can see the bill 6 in here. It's a $0 transaction. It's marked as paid. But you can see it takes off the quantity of chocolate bears, peach rings, the T-shirts, the sour watermelon, and then it adds in the finished quantity of candy dishes. So now there will be reflected 45 candy dishes on hand. It's a workaround that a lot of apps use when they're connecting to QuickBooks, just because that, like I said, that build assembly screen itself inside of QuickBooks Desktop causes a lot of problems. It's just a smarter way. So that was added. We did not touch on last time either the time cards. So of course, a lot of people have complained to us around time cards that they used to, they don't want their employees just to have to log in to enter time activity, right? But they want to do job costing. And so to be able to log in just to put in time card data. In CX, we also have added both the weekly time card entry and the daily time card entry. So users can come in here. Users are connected, right, to employees, but they can come in here and I can choose Marjorie. I can choose my service item, doing design, how long was I doing it for 5 hours, which payroll item am I using, right, and then what's the class. So similar to what we were doing before, and then I can type in the memo, fun design for candy, and then hit save. You can do billable or non-billable as well. Oh, of course. Oh, because I don't have the employee has to be set up to be able to do hourly tracking, right? So that is also something that we need to make sure. Okay, so it picks up. It's a way to check yourself, right? In product, it says like, hey, this employee is not set up to do time. The other thing that I want to touch on is the archive feature. This is a big one for me. Again, speed, we're trying to mitigate speed, deal with speed issues inside of QuickBooks Desktop for our clients all the time. And so in here, what this is we have taken the estimates and sales orders, and then of course, if you go to the Vendor Center for Archive, we have purchase orders, so the non-posting transactions, okay? The transactions that turn into posting transactions, or if you have marked them inactive, you most likely don't need them anymore. So we have the ability to filter if they're active or not in here, and so you could go in and say, I want to see all the ones that are, active yes or not active or whatever it is. The idea behind this is that the estimate itself will remain inside of FCX, so you can always pull it up and reference it here. You can unarchive it if you're an admin, and it will send it back into your QuickBooks Desktop database. However, the idea is to remove it from your database so your database functions faster. So again, this estimate, this one's active, so this is a bad example, but I'm going to use this one for now. The idea would be that this estimate has been marked closed. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it as archived. Okay, so that was number 26. When I go, you know what? I forgot what customer it was for. Let me see. Was it one of these top ones here? Okay, let me try again because I forgot what customer. I didn't pay attention to what customer. Okay, so let's do it again. Skittles, Seattle Skittles Storybook. I'm going to mark estimate number 7 as archived. Okay, yes. When I go to my customer center now and I go down to Skittles, and I'm quite zoomed in here because I want you guys to be able to see this, but I could also type in Skittles up here. But here's estimate number 7. I can open the estimate up in CX and I see it as marked as archives, right? So that means I can't make modifications in here. Then when I come down into QuickBooks and I go to my customer center for Skittles, that estimate is no longer there, right? So it's been removed. If I go to the audit trail for today, you would have to clear the audit trail if you do a mass amount of removing of data like this. Where am I going? Accountant and taxes, audit trail, voided, deleted transaction summary, right? And then the estimate number 7 was just deleted this morning, okay? So again, you'd have to clear the audit trail to get the good effect, but that's there. What we suggest for customers is a one-time cleanup. Please work with our team on doing that one-time cleanup, that initial one-time cleanup, and then basically to make this part of your quarterly close, right? So go in, we're going to archive old transactions, keep our database nice and healthy, go through that, clear the audit trail function, and then move forward. Okay. All right, let me talk a little bit about Intuit Enterprise Suite. Again, I'm pushing time here. I wanted to point out, because I don't want our team, our people, to be confused and go switch to Enterprise Suite and then get frustrated and have to come back to desktop. So definitely call us first. It is not QuickBooks Desktop in a cloud environment. This is QuickBooks Online Advanced with some more features. Okay, so if you've looked at QuickBooks Online in the last couple of years and it was not a good fit, it most likely still is not a good fit in Enterprise Suite. Usually that is because for our clients, that they need average cost of inventory, they need sales order fulfillment, right? They need some job costing that's not quite there yet. The reporting in Intuit Enterprise Suite is definitely getting better. They have better job costing reports. They have some cool things when it comes to construction, and I'm going to show you guys those things. But it is not great. That doesn't have build assemblies. Again, doesn't have sales orders. If we use sales orders as part of our process, sales orders are not linked to purchase orders. So there's all these little things in there that are still maybe on the roadmap, right, but not there today. When I think about Intuit Enterprise Suite, the ideal customers are multiple office, right? So multiple businesses, and primarily service-based businesses. So doctor's offices, dentist offices, family offices that have a whole bunch of trusts, things that need intercompany transactions. So we've got some people who own restaurants even. This is a great one for restaurants. People who own, because the restaurants, the point of sale does everything, right? And they have a management company that, processes all the bills for the different restaurants. So it's a great one. Anyone who is construction light, not doing any kind of inventory tracking, or maybe inventory is happening somewhere else. Also a great trigger for them to come over into IES because they do some things that QuickBooks Desktop doesn't do. Although we have workarounds that we've showed people, like workflows that we've shown people how to do it. When it's not a good fit, again, manufacturing, wholesale, heavy inventory, lot, bin number, barcode scanning, all that fun stuff. It does not support multi-currency yet. I'm assuming that's coming. So just as an FYI. Let me go ahead and show you this product, right? The other thing about Intuit Enterprise Suite, gosh, how did I miss this? You can go flip between your different companies just by clicking through here. So if you had 27 different companies, you don't have to log out, log in, log out, log in, log out, log in. That's amazing. I mean, time and energy savings, it's so silly to have to do that. The other thing is, of course, Intuit has been promoting their AI things, and it does have the AI agents in here. The AI agents will do some reporting on the dashboards and stuff like that, some super cool reporting. Of course, you have to understand and want to look at it. If Intuit gets my clients to look at their KPIs and stuff like that, I will be so thrilled because we've been struggling to get people to look at it for years. It will also make suggestions for things, right? So if you historically have always allocated the insurance bill across the different companies in a certain way, it will suggest that you do it that way again. Okay. So the AI capabilities are also in here. Multi-entity, so you can do intercompany transactions. There is the ability to do manual eliminations. So if I go in and create a bill inside of IES, I can take that bill. So let me take one. Let me just take one that's in existence already, so I don't have to. So I don't have to recreate. But at the bottom, we have this thing that says allocate, right? And when you go to allocate, then it takes us in this kind of in-between space where we can take and allocate based on a percentage or a couple of their choices on how it will be split between entities, okay? So that is very cool. You can also create journal entries that can be allocated across multiple entities all in one spot. There is consolidated reporting. That is also a big one for multi-entity. So I can go in and look at some of the AR across all the company files, AP, profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, and then they're just continuously adding more and more consolidated reports. So when I look at this, the report is consolidated as one, right? If I wanted to, zoomed in, there we go, display columns by company, I can do that. I can also display columns by dimension, which I'm going to talk about that in a second. So here's company. Now it's splitting it out for me, and I've got Keystone Construction, Keystone Terra. Here are my eliminations. What? And then what's the total? Okay. So very, very interesting that they have, or cool that they've added this for clients. So dimensions is the other thing that we have added. And again, I'm sorry I'm rushing so much. It's pressed on time. If you want to see a deeper dive demo of Intuit Enterprise Suite, give us a call and we'll do that for you for sure. But the dimensions, okay, so what dimensions are is we are used to classes, right? Jump to dimension. What we are used to is we're used to classes. Classes is a field. When I come in here and I go to my class list, right, I have a class. If I wanted additional levels of classes, I can make subclasses, but I can't make like a whole other list of classes where on the transaction I can put class 1 and class 2 and class 3. That's what dimensions is, right? So I have my class list, that's the original, whatever your class list came in as, and then I can add additional class lists, right? This one's called concrete list, this one's called customer type list, this one's called earthwork list, right? So I can add those additional dimensions throughout the organization. So very cool. Under earthwork, you can see excavating. I can even make subs like we did before. So I've seen people use this for cost codes. I've seen people use this for when we need department reporting, you know, operations, marketing, accounting, IT, finance. But then I also need location-based, east, west, north, and then I also need product line based, right? So you can add in these different dimensions, splicing data. People coming from like a Great Plains really enjoy this because they're used to that segmentation in their chart of accounts. Again, this is our way to keep our chart of accounts nice and tight, but we can still get and splice the data we need. I have a feeling the one thing with Intuit Enterprise Suite that I've seen, because you've got this and you've got customer type and you've got item type and you've got all these different ways that you can put data in. I have a feeling we are about to see a lot of data going into multiple places at the same time. So that's where our team comes in handy with helping you guys decide, I need to report on this data, where should I put it? Okay, and then we put it in there, we run some transactions, and then we report on it and we say, is this the right spot? Does this give you what you need? Okay, so some pretty cool stuff coming down the pipe from Intuit. I am excited about Intuit Enterprise Suite. I say again to people, if you are in QuickBooks Pro and you have a whole bunch of smaller entities and you're having to log in and out of all the entities, great. Consider coming up to IES. If you are in Intact and you have multiple entities, you switched to Intact years ago and you didn't really want to, but you did because you needed to be able to do intercompany transactions and eliminations and all that stuff, consider coming back. And again, we can talk to you guys about all that stuff. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I told you I'd take up the whole time. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and Marjorie again, Marjorie at Fourlane.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.